Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome into Sons of UCF Live. Happy Halloween, Adam.
Trace, happy Halloween. I've had my fix of candy, but now I'm ready to talk about the real treat, and that's UCF football, maybe?
Maybe. Welcome,
Okay.
everybody, to a little bit later time slot than you are accustomed to. And guess what I brought for you, Adam? Jokes. Halloween.
Okay, here
jokes.
we go. All
knock,
right,
knock.
Who is there?
Justin.
Justin who?
Just in time for Halloween.
I wish you had told
this show
prepare
more
laugh.
of those.
Hold on. I can. There you go. I got that. I got you covered.
I have more. We'll sprinkle them in.
I'm so excited about this.
It's unusual for us to be live on Halloween. We haven't been doing this show that long that we've cycled through to Halloween. So a little unusual time. So I will have to see how this 9 o'clock time slot works for us. It has been a week of changes. You came out with Sons today to recap BYU and UCF. And was it even 24 hours later? And you were out with another Sons today, the newest show from the Sons of UCF, talking about some big changes. Let's get a quick reaction as you've had time to digest it. Defensive coordinator Ted Roof gone after 8 games.
I mean, it's surprising, right? Obviously, the defense had some challenges, and I think we all saw that. But, I think there certainly were ups and downs defensively. I don't know that you look at this team and say the defense was the issue. But obviously, Coach Malzahn felt that a change was needed, felt a shakeup was needed, and went to the defensive side of the ball, at least from that standpoint. Obviously, Addison Williams is a player, or is a coach rather, that we know really well and knows the players really well. So he must have some comfortability there. But surprised, I would say, because I didn't see that one coming. You were just in the press room with Ted Roof at 6 o'clock on Sunday, and then 9 a.m. Monday he's not there anymore. So surprised. Obviously, the defense again, I think had some challenges here and there, but didn't necessarily see this one coming.
Yeah, the timing is interesting, right? The game concludes Saturday, the Knights' 5th straight loss to, this one to BYU at home. And you mentioned it, the Sunday media availability with the coordinators, Ted Roof, Tim Harris Jr., and then that news breaks on Monday morning. When was the decision made? Coach Malzahn saying that he alone made the decision. And the other part of that was offensive coordinator Tim Harris Jr. to call the offensive plays.
That one's interesting, Trace, because we've seen this out of Gus before, right? We've seen him sort of flip-flop back and forth between play caller, not play caller. He obviously had the same challenge when he was at Auburn. I think a couple times gave up the play calling duties, only to take them back, only to give them back up. So curious what the timing is now, why this was the right move. He talked a lot about the portal and transfers and NAL and recruiting your own players, but there's still 4 games left in the season. I think the biggest thing that's interesting is he talked about game management. And you and I talked about this a little bit, but Brian and I talked about this a lot on the Sons Today pod. There was a penalty on Nigel Kelly, obviously cost UCF 15 yards on a bit of a taunting. In the post game, Gus made it seem as though Curry. Gus made it seem like he didn't even know that penalty took place, right? Because he was rightfully so, looking at the playbook, looking at the next sequence of plays. Maybe that plays into it. I don't know, but again, the timing of all this is interesting. But I think the one thing is true is this team needs a jolt. This needs a bit of a shakeup. Things have not gone the way I think anybody wants. And these are the decisions, the jolts that Gus thinks can get the team into the right spot. So we'll see if Tim Harris as a play caller is different or better. I believe it's his first time calling plays since high school. So not a ton of pedigree there. So we'll see how that works out. But the timing is all interesting. But I think obviously a shakeup is needed. We saw the shakeup with the quarterback change with KJ out, and who knows who is in at this point, by the way. But I think this is another in the line of shakeups to try to get this team on the right track.
Well, let's hear from Coach Malzahn on why these changes at this time.
I love calling plays. I mean, I'm a football coach first, but as a leader and as a head coach, you got to do what's best for your team, and that's what's best for our team, and it's what's best for me as a head coach. Like I said, the head coaching responsibilities in college football in the last year have completely changed, and the demands of everything, and just take the game management is one thing, but then the off the field stuff with the portal coming up, with recruiting your own players, everything that goes with that. The man's a head coach is more than ever before.
Now, Adam, was that from this week's Gus Malzahn availability, or was that from a previous time while he has been head coach?
No.
I feel like I've heard this before.
Yeah. I checked the timestamp. No, this was this week. And that's the thing, is these challenges were still there 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. So why now? Why is now the right time to make these moves? Why is now the time to focus on those things? I'm not sure we ever get the full answer to that. My only suspicion is wanted a change, wanted a spark, thinks this is the right sort of timing for that kind of spark. We'll see what that means long term. But yeah, to your point, these challenges existed 4 weeks ago as well, and 6 and 8.
Well, and we heard this from Coach Malzahn before here. You saw this back and forth while he was at Auburn as well. I mean, he likes calling plays, right? And that's what he wants to do. And he wants to be involved in so many aspects of the game. I asked on my Twitter poll this week, do you believe him? He's given up the play calling. Remember, he said it and turned things over to Darren Hinshaw and then wrestled it back overwhelmingly. People are a little bit skeptical. Nearly 75% of respondents saying they're not quite sure that he is ready to give up the play calling. He mentioned on his weekly coaches show this Thursday that he's spent some time with the defense this week, and it's the first time he'd done that over the course of the season. I mean, in fairness, and it is certainly a situation he put himself into because he wants to be involved in so many aspects. I don't see how anybody can be involved in all of the aspects of the game. And that's what he said when he said that he couldn't do all those things before, that it was just too much. And maybe he's come to that realization that it is too many things. And, we've been talking about losing the fan base a bit, besides winning, of course, that can get the fan base back. A more focused Gus Malzahn on those areas that are part of his strengths could begin to win back people as well.
Well, I mean, look, the age-old saying is, it's better to do 3 things great than 6 things okay, right? And I think that's kind of the concept here is, can Gus do 3 things great? And that's lead the team, recruit, in-game management, right? Listen, I think the fan base will come back with wins. I don't think this is a mystery. This isn't an algorithm that you have to solve. I think if you win football games, the fan base comes back. I think if you there's a clip coming up I don't want to spoil, but somebody mentions finding the quarterback. And I think those are 2 key things right now. If this fan base said, hey, we win a couple of these games on the way out and we figure out the quarterback situation, we have some understanding of who that might be for us in 25. I think those are good steps in the right direction. But you want to win back trust, you want to win back faith, win some football games. I think it's as simple as that for Gus Malzahn. I assume he thinks these changes give him and the team the best opportunity to do that. Now we'll all see how that shakes out on Saturday, but listen, I applaud him for making a move, right? I know this was Robert, our good friend, 2 Letters, 2 Words, put this on Twitter. Like he was proud, I think he said, or something like that, of Gus for making these moves. It can't be easy, Trace. I mean, anybody who's been a leadership role at a company, at your job, to sort of cede some of that power away, to move some staff around, never easy decision. So I applaud him for at least looking in the mirror and saying, I got to make some changes. I think the challenge is going to be the fans are always going to say, was it 2 games too late? Was it 4 games too late? Was it 5 games too late? And I think that's going to be a challenge he faces. But all that goes away if we rip off a 4-game winning streak and close the season with a good note.
Yeah, 2/3 of the season complete. Knights have lost 5 straight. They welcome in an Arizona team that has lost 4 straight, finds themselves in much the same position as UCF. On the coach's show, Coach Malzahn not revealing the starter. He said that he was deciding on Monday, ask again on Thursday. He was asked that on Thursday. He's not tipping his hand on that. Dylan Risk comes off the bench for an ineffective Ja'Cory Brown and, leads the team on a drive. I don't know how much BYU was into things at that point, well ahead of UCF, but it's a season now in which we have seen 4 different quarterbacks, and perhaps it'll be Dylan Risk that gets the start. I'm not a big fan of the 2 quarterback system, but I see strengths for each of these guys that, Ja'Cory on the ground, maybe Dylan through the air. I don't know. Got to decide.
That's so tough. That's so tough, Trace, because I assume if coaches are smart as you and I are, which I assume that they are, I hope that they are, by the way, when Ja'Cory comes in, that you're going to potentially face a more run-oriented offense versus when Dylan's in. So I wonder how much that plays into the scheme of things. And to your point, I don't know what I said. To your point again, darn it. I don't know.
That's the drinking game. That's yours.
Game. That's one. I write that down. I don't know how much of the playbook was open to Dylan. I don't know how much BYU was prepared for that. but he provided a spark. And I think, again, that's what this team needs is a spark. I think you saw receivers kind of running routes, fighting for balls. So perhaps the spark is what this team needs. I don't know if he knows the playbook. I don't know if he's fully ready for all of that, but you saw a bit of a spark. You saw some juice kind of fire up. I think our good friend Coach Heupel used to say, if you're juiceless, you're useless. You saw the juice kind of fire up there for UCF. So let's see if that can hold true, if Dylan gets the nod on Saturday.
10 minutes into the show, and we need a spark. That's why we bring in Coach Paul Lounsbury to provide a little juice for us here on Sons of UCF Live. Coach, hello.
Hey, Trace, Adam.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
What do you
too.
make of these changes? 2/3 of the way through the season. I mean, Ted Roof, just 8 games. How much? It could provide a spark, but how much can you change things the way you've been playing, your play calling and such?
Yeah, I don't know how much it changes. I'm not sitting in those meetings, so I don't really know. But I feel bad for Ted. He's a friend of mine, and I think he's a good football coach. But we did need some changes, and Coach Malzahn, to his benefit, he did put the team first and made those changes. We'll see what happens. I'm excited about it. But you're never going to hear me badmouth coaches. I don't do that because I was one for too long.
Well, Addison Williams back now calling defensive plays. He has familiarity with that, obviously. He was in that position a year ago. Players have always seemed to like, Coach Williams. And
Addison's
maybe that's a little bit of a spark. Maybe that's a little bit of a juice that, these guys want to show him and everyone that they can play up to their potential.
Yeah, I love Addison too. He's a good friend too, and that could be the spark on defense. We have done a better job this year overall of stopping the run, but we do have to get off the field on third down, and somehow we got to figure that out, and maybe we can get that done against Arizona. Arizona's had a tough time too, so we'll see.
Coach, you've been on a lot of offensive staffs. When you switch play callers, what does that mean? Break that down for us. What does that mean? What kind of spark can that provide for a team?
Well, it really depends on the coach and how much trust you have in your other coaches. I've been on teams where I was the play caller. I've been on teams where the head coach was the play caller, and it really depends on the head coach and what he decides is best for the team. Mike Kruzik, for example, called all the plays when he was the head coach and I was the offensive coordinator. And I didn't have a problem with that because he's the best play caller I've been around. So, but he trusted everybody to do their jobs and he could focus on play calling, and he didn't get involved much with the defense. So he had the ability to do that. It just depends on the staff and depends on the head coach and what he feels is he's comfortable with. And obviously, he wouldn't have hired Tim Harris if he didn't think Tim was capable of doing it. And I know Darren is capable of doing it. I've seen him do it before. So I know he's got some capable coaches there that can do it. And I got to give Gus credit. I mean, he took his ego out of it and put the team first, and that's good.
I know you can't speak to this staff specifically, Coach, but in your career, does the head coach have veto power on play call? So if there's a play call that comes in that the head coach isn't really keen with, in your experience, do head coaches have veto power over a play caller?
In my experience, the head coach had veto power over everything. It's not a democracy. It is a dictatorship, and it needs to be, because it's like being in the Army or the Navy. You can only have one commander. And so he has to have that ability to, I mean, his job is the job that's on the line before anybody else's usually. So he's got to have that ability to do that. So yeah, like I said, with Coach Kruzik, he was calling the plays and he was the head coach. Well, when he was the head coach, he was calling the plays all the time when he was an assistant too. So, I will tell you this, the staffs are going to collaborate tremendously with whoever the play caller is. And if the head coach is an offensive guy, he's going to be in there with the offensive play calling. If he's a defensive guy, he's going to have a heavy hand in the defensive play calling. So it really comes down to who the staff is and where the trust is by the head coach.
Earlier, you mentioned the struggles on third down. As you've watched this season, play out now. 5 straight losses for the Knights. What's the problem? I know if they could solve it, they would. But what are you seeing that they are not getting off the field, and they've struggled as well in 4th down situations?
Well, it is consistency for one thing, but it is both sides of the ball on 3rd down have been problems. I don't know if it's a mixture of things. There's so many variables, Trace. It's really hard to pin it down to 1 or 2 things. There's discipline involved. There's consistency involved. There's fundamentals involved. There's a lot of different variables, and plus the other team has good players too. So it's really hard to. Maybe it's not one thing. It might be a mixture of a whole stew of things. But it is identifiable to be 3rd down on both sides of the ball. So I wish I could tell you what it was exactly. And I don't study the film like those coaches at UCF do, so they have a better idea than I do. But I know at times it's been a different set of circumstances on each series almost. We had the big play with Jacuri down there, and he ran over the guy, and he felt pretty proud of himself, and he taunted the guy and got a 15-yard penalty. We end up, not scoring on that, and it just – it's frustrating. Things like that, whether it's a young player or just a lack of discipline, or whether it's just a lack of concentration or a lack of consistency in execution, all of those things really come down to it. So specifically, I can't speak to it completely, but I know that it's a very complicated issue.
You watch a lot of practice, and then you'll join us on Thursdays, and you're a positive guy. What has surprised you, though, when you see the games play out? You feel pretty good about the way the team looks going into a game, and you know what's happened over these last 5.
I do, and be honest with you, with 2 exceptions, I think we've had a chance to win every game, and probably should have won a couple of those games. But the thing I really bring out of it, and because I'm a positive guy, I'm going to point this out. The team is still together. They are still together. So TNT does fit. They're tough and they are together. So I've been really impressed with the resilience that they've showed as players, and the coaches too. The coaches have been really consistent in trying to promote that, and I think that gives us a chance in these last 4 games.
Coach, our friend Andy has a question in the chat. I'll ask for you. How do you think the video replay and the sideline communication stuff has affected gameplay, both either positively or negatively?
That's a very good question. I think having the video there is a great thing to have if you have time to get to it right away. I think you have to, though, and I think I mentioned this once before on one of these broadcasts, that I think you have to, as a coach, at least for me, I would not rely on the video to start with. I would have my notes. I would watch each play, take a note on each play that I needed to discuss with the players when they came off. And then I would try to match that with the video when they came off. So I don't think you can rely just on the video. You got to trust your eyes and what you see out there too, and listen to what the players have to say too, because they have a better view of it than anybody. So I don't know that it's a negative at all. I don't really think it is, as long as you don't over-rely on it. Let me put it that way.
Coach, a lot of fans are trying to figure out what to make of the performance of Dylan Risk. He came in late in the game. Obviously, maybe some backups on BYU. The game was out of hand at that point, but he fared really well. As a coach, what did you take out of his time in the game? And as you think about projecting forward, how do you kind of assess what he did in that situation to thinking about how you might use him in the future?
Well, he definitely provided a spark. It was a strange time in the game. So as you said, it may have just been a difference of that. I think maybe they kept it pretty simple for him because he hadn't had a lot of snaps in the weeks leading up to the game. And I think that's why, but he was into it, and he threw the ball well. He ran it hard, but you also saw him get tired and gassed real quickly, and that was because he hadn't had a lot of reps in the practices. So I was impressed with him. I think Dylan's been there the whole time with some talent. along with EJ and along with Jakari. All the quarterbacks have talent. We just have to make sure that we can find the right one at the right time for us to succeed. It's a little bit crazy sometimes, but I don't know that there's a simple answer to that. I just think you have to just keep trying to find the right mix.
Philosophically, Coach, are you in favor of multiple quarterbacks playing the same game? Are you in favor of a 2-quarterback system?
It depends. It depends on the quarterbacks and the situation. There's sometimes that I felt like we'd had to have one quarterback, and he needed to be the guy. And other times we've played more than one quarterback, and it worked. But in this situation, I think we're still searching. So I have no problems with playing more than one quarterback because we're searching right now to find the one that can help us win the most. I think if you do that and you get a hot hand, you let that guy go for a while, and I've seen it work both ways, and it just depends on the kids and the situations, I guess.
BYU had the ball. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
I'm sorry. There's so many variables. It's really hard to sit here and say we should do this and we should do that. There's so many variables that it's hard to measure everything. I'm sorry, Trace.
No problem. Coach, BYU had the ball for more than 40 minutes. I can't think of a team that doesn't win a game when they've had the ball that long. In your coaching career, can you think of a team, even yours, that had the ball more than that in a game?
No. The big part of that, though, is us getting off the field on defense. That's a huge part of that, and we weren't getting off the field. And the other thing was we scored on big plays, 1 or 2 plays on a couple drives there. We scored on defense, so it left our defense out on the field right away after the score. And we didn't stay on the field all the time either. We had 3 or 4 times in a row there where we had 3s and outs. So it's a combination again of not taking care of business offensively and defensively, and that it's tough. It's tough to have that defense out there the whole time, but we kind of do it to ourselves offensively and defensively. The other problem for us is that we're minus in the turnover ratio. We're -4 after 8 games, and that, again, that's a problem. Turnovers determine a lot of what goes on, and we're at the back end of that, and not in a good way. So between the third down inefficiency on offense and defense and the turnover ratio, I think it makes it hard for us. We got to change those things. We've got to change that. We've got to be better efficiently on defense and offense on third down, and we got to get some turnovers.
Space game on Saturday. Preceding that Friday is the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. One of the names going in there is running back great Mark Giacone, who Adam had a chance to catch up with earlier this week on Suns Today. Let's hear this from Mark.
I've actually developed a pretty close relationship with Coach Paul Lounsbury. He comes on our show every week. And so I texted him and asked him a little bit about Mark. And his quote to me was, and I'll read it to you, "I loved Mark both as a person and as a player." What do you remember about Coach Lounsbury from back in the day?
Oh, let me say, he was the most terrifying man I've ever met in my life. I've never been more, except for Coach McDowell, I've never been more scared of a man than Coach Lounsbury. No, I love him. Love Coach Lounsbury. But when he first arrived there, oh my God, he was big, he was jacked. I guess he was in his late 20s, early 30s, but he was tough. Oh my God, was he tough?
Jacked you were, huh?
Hey, I was back in those days. I ate better, I lifted, worked out. I was a lot younger, but I think when I got to UCF, I was 36 years old. And it was I wasn't exactly a spring chicken, but I never could scare Giacone, really. I was just a nice grandfatherly type. But I'm looking forward to talking with Mark at the Hall of Fame induction and being there. And Mark and I actually sat together at last year's Hall of Fame banquet at Coach McDowell's table, and we had a great time and talked. Also, Kurt Spiraw, who's a good friend of mine, is being inducted, and Shaquem Griffin, too. So So I'm looking forward to seeing all of those guys. And I will tell you this: UCF puts on a great Hall of Fame induction banquet, and it's really well done. Carlos McCants and his staff do a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to it tomorrow night. And I'm skipping a football game I'd really like to see to go to the Hall of Fame induction. So.
Well, let's have a good evening at the Celeste on Friday night and a space game win for the Knights. Coach Lounsbury, thanks for being back with us on Suns Live.
Thank you, guys. And again, I appreciate what you do. Go Knights.
Thanks,
That's
Coach.
right,
Go Knots. Knots, Coach. Go Knots.
Go Knots. Yeah, that's it.
You got to get the Knots. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. That interview with Hall of Fame inductee Mark Giacone, you can find on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. You enjoyed that conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah, second time I've chatted with Mark. What was funny about that, Trace, was just how emotional this was to him, and you and I are hopefully accomplished in our own right, but to be in a Hall of Fame, I think means a lot to guys like this, and especially for somebody like Mark, who sort of helped the program along and was there in the early years when they were. He told a funny story about the Youngstown State game that they didn't have the right shoes, that they actually had someone buy them like the right shoes to go play on the turf at Youngstown State, and that's how far things have come. So happy for Mark. Always a good time to catch up with some of the legends of UCF. It's easy to forget about the foundation that had to be built 20, 30 years ago. And so every time you get a chance to do that, it's pretty cool.
Weren't there some questions about the cleat choice at Iowa State 2 weeks ago? Maybe
they needed Mark Giacone's cleats. I don't really know. That's a great question.
Hey, it's time for another joke. What's the problem with twin witches, Adam?
I don't know if I can say this on the air. So you can't tell them apart.
You never know which is which. I humor myself. All right, some more football news. Kingdom NIL changes made official now. S.J. Toohey leaving and Simon Plume promoted to executive director. Perhaps that timing just doesn't look good amidst a 5-game losing streak, but Mr. Toohey, pursuing other career opportunities. He had always intended to go into athletics administration, and we wish him the best. He's been good to appear on Sun's shows and talk about the NIL situation, and that continues to evolve.
Yeah, listen, I mean, there was no playbook for NIL. There was no blueprint for how to build a collective like this. And so hats off to SJ Toohey and everybody at the Kingdom who had to figure this out on the fly. And rules were changing all the time. Situations were changing. You had to get different things. Laws were changing by the day. So I'm sure this was a tougher job than it probably looked. And, hats off to SJ Toohey for holding it down for Night Nation and getting the Kingdom kind of launched and kicked off. And I'm sure Simon and that group are going to continue the great work he did. But much respect to SJ and best of luck as he moves on to the more administrative side of college athletics.
2/3 of the way through the Big 12 schedule, I remain comfortably ahead of the artist formerly known as UCF Mike, a 6-game advantage with just a couple of weeks to go. Let's take a look at what's going on in the Big 12 with Jeff Allen.
Let's do that, Trace. That's a great question. Where's
that.
Jeff Allen? Yeah, where's Jeff? There's Jeff Allen.
Quick.
It's a light schedule for Week 10 in the Big 12 with just 5 games on the docket Saturday. Texas Tech visits number 12 Iowa State, which aims to remain unbeaten and get back into a first-place tie in the conference. That one is at 3:30 on ESPN. Also at 3:30, Houston hosts number 17 Kansas State, which is tied for second in conference. You can catch that matchup on Fox. Arizona State is at Oklahoma State, 7 o'clock on FS1. At 8 o'clock, TCU battles Baylor on ESPN2. The teams on a bye for this week are Kansas, Cincinnati, number 9 BYU, number 23 Colorado, Utah, and West Virginia. Meanwhile, the space game here in Orlando pits 2 teams on losing streaks, so one of them will break theirs. Arizona has dropped 4 in a row, and the Knights are on a 5-game skid. The certainties in life are death, taxes, and UCF winning the space game. So don't blow it, Gus. Kickoff is at 3:30 on FS1. The players of the week are Colorado's Heisman candidate Travis Hunter on offense. He became the first player in conference history to win the weekly award on offense and defense. After grabbing defensive honors in September, he had 9 catches for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns against Cincinnati. The defensive player of the week was Baylor's Matt Jones with 12 tackles, 10 of the solo variety, 3 of them for a loss, plus a sack and a forced fumble against Oklahoma State. On special teams, BYU kicker Will Farron had his first 3 field goal game against UCF, and Kansas State's Chris Tennant joins him as co-special teams player of the week with a 51-yard game-winning field goal against Kansas. And finally, the Big 12 Women's Soccer Conference Tournament is underway at CPKC Stadium in Kansas City. We will recap that for you next week. With your Big 12 Minutes, I'm Jeff Allen.
I don't like to correct Jeff Allen, but it's death, taxes, and a Trent Whittemore fair catch.
He left us with a cliffhanger for next week. I wasn't expecting that. A cliffhanger. Wow.
Well, Arizona comes into this game Saturday at UCF limping along as well, 4-game losing streak. Let's talk more about the Wildcats with Eric Cohen, co-host of Wildcat Country, who is good enough to spend some time with us tonight on Sons of UCF Live. Welcome in, Eric.
Adam, Trace, good to be with you guys. It's been a rough year for both of us. We both had higher expectations. I thought the Wildcats 8-9 wins, something like that. You guys probably thought the same for the Knights, and it has not gone so well. However, you guys should be fortunate. New defensive coordinator, new person calling plays, and Arizona coming to town. Space game, you guys should feel pretty good about that.
All right, so in short, what has gone wrong for Arizona?
Everything. Injuries.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, Eric. It's been good.
Seriously, everything has gone wrong, Trace. You look at on defense, Jacob Manu, the team's leading tackler last year, out for the season, knee injury. Traden Stukes in the secondary, Gunnar Maldonado out. I think they have like 1 or 2 guys who played in the Alamo Bowl last year who are actually still playing on defense. So it's a disaster. Not that the defense was playing bad. I mean, they were playing okay under Dwayne Aquina, who was their defensive coordinator back in the 90s. And he came back. He was a defensive assistant last year, did a great job, and then stayed on as the defensive coordinator. Not his fault, but when you lose all your best guys, not good. Offensively, it's a train wreck, guys. The offensive line has been bad. And outside of Teteroa McMillan, who's an absolute star, there's no playmakers. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
So this could be an exciting one Saturday at 3:30 in the bounce.
For you guys, yeah, it's going to be exciting. For you,
so you're not surprised by the line that's grown throughout the week. UCF favored despite losing 5 games.
Absolutely not. And I work in the sports betting space for my full-time job. I'm not the least bit surprised at the line movement. I actually think it's probably less than it should be. Now, you guys should get back on track. I think that loss that you guys had, was it to TCU earlier in the year? That kind of
hey, now. There's only 3 wins, and one of them was over TCU.
That's right.
Take away that Big 12 win.
I had TCU money line in that game. All right, so that was one of your bright spots. That was like our Utah game was a bright spot, and then after that,
Well, that's when you thought Utah was Utah.
Yeah, they stink. I mean, they've lost 4 in a row. They're just not very good. I thought Utah, top 10 win, great. I mean, they're as top 10 as U of A and UCF are right now. Seriously, though, the problem is offensively. Noah Fafita, he's a 5'10", 5'11" quarterback, whatever, and he's probably not that. And he has to back up 20 yards on every play to throw, and nobody else is getting open. I mean, McMillan is fantastic to watch. He should probably have a very good game against you guys, but it won't matter. They can't do anything defensively. I don't know how they're going to stop you guys. And
have you watched UCF at all yet this season?
A little bit.
UCF doesn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, so Noah may only have to go back 10 yards.
I mean, hey, I'll take the encouragement where we can get it. I'm a season ticket holder, and I drive 2 hours each way to the games and from the Phoenix area, and it's painful. I mean, we have these late starts on the West Coast, and you're watching garbage football. I mean, we lost to a West Virginia team last week that was beat up, didn't play great themselves, and Arizona's like, here, we'll spot you 3 touchdowns. It's embarrassing.
That's not the slogan for the season, though, is it? Arizona Wildcat football, it's painful.
Well, I mean, if you ask the fan base, they are rioting right now, and we're really having on Wildcat Country a lot of issues with people who are fire Brent Brennan. Okay, great. So you fire the guy, and I like Brent. I think he's a good guy, to be determined if he's the right coach for Arizona. Okay, so you're going to fire him, and then you're going to hire who? And if that coach stinks, what are you going to do then? So you raise
Ted Roof is available as of Monday.
We'll pass on that. Yeah, we're good. I think it's time for him, Ted, to go retire.
Has he ever coached there? Because he's been a lot of places.
I think he stayed out east. I don't think he's come west with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tell you what. The fan base is clamoring. Brennan is not the guy. It's time to get. Come on. You can't say that after 8 games. October was brutal, 0-4, but give the guy a chance. I think we all overrated how good this team was coming back. They lost a lot. You lost a first-round draft pick in Jordan Morgan on the offensive line. You lost a few defensive transfers. Bill Norton went to Texas. It was one of them on the defensive line. You lost Jacob Cowing, who's a 5th-round pick of the 49ers, now is playing for them. And those guys were key factors. And then you lost your head coach and your defensive coordinator. Yeah, it's a lot. And a whole staff. It's a lot.
Eric, I did some quick research. Ted Roof once stayed at a Holiday Inn in Tucson, so he's been close enough to you all. But how is UCF and Arizona, obviously a little bit different in terms of the change, but a change from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. How has that been embraced by coaches, players, and fans? And what's been the big surprise to you going from the Pac-12 to the Big 12?
This is probably going to be an unpopular thing. I think this is an intriguing matchup this week. I like having you guys in the Big 12, and I have a friend who actually is traveling with his family out to Orlando to go to the game this weekend, which is great. I wish I could have. To me, the matchups, you're not having those marquee matchups. We're used to USC and Oregon and Washington and those big name teams, and there's nobody in the Big 12 that has that name recognition. Not saying UCF. Listen, you guys have a great program. I saw you in the Fiesta Bowl out here in 2014 with Blake Bortles. I've seen you. Didn't you play here again in the Fiesta Bowl against LSU right before Joe Burrow, went on his run the next year? I think that was January 1st, 2019. I was at that game. And then, and you had the Scott Frost year where you guys went undefeated and then whole national title, whatever that. Great. You guys are very, it was what it was. You just not the name of a USC, an Oregon, a Washington that's getting people to buy tickets. That's my thing. That's the only problem that I personally have with the Big 12 in football. Basketball is phenomenal. It's going to be a great conference. We're going to really enjoy, playing all these games. But football's, it's not the high profile names aren't there.
This is going to be a deep cut for UCF fans, but you have former UCF coach Dino Babers as your offensive coordinator, but he doesn't call plays. We're used to that here at UCF. What's the situation in offense? Dino's not calling plays. The tight end coach is calling plays. Obviously, you talked about some of the challenges with the line play. What the hell's going on with this offense?
Oh, the play calling stinks. I don't care if it's Dino or Matt Atkins calling plays. It's terrible. The three of us can call better plays. Seriously. I mean, every run is a delay. At some point, that's not going to work, and you're going to figure out that it's not going to work. And it's just it's frustrating. I have been very disappointed with the play calling. I think Dino is a good college coach. He did nice things, but he wasn't calling plays for his last 4 or 5 years at Syracuse, if not more. So I'm not really sure what his role is, but I have a pretty good sense he's not going to be there next year.
You've got a pretty good wide receiver, though.
Yeah, it's great. You're wasting his talent. You finished number 11 in the country last year, and it was phenomenal. It was an excellent year. Arizona at one point earlier this season had the longest active winning streak in the country at 9 games. And after that, it's been a disaster. T-Mac is phenomenal. Yeah, we're all enjoying him while we can because he'll be in the NFL next year and he'll be a middle of the first round draft pick. He's probably the best offensive player at Arizona that I've seen probably ever, including Rob Gronkowski, who played there, was very good as a tight end. But McMillan is phenomenal. The best game changer I've personally seen in a Wildcat uniform.
UCF, of course, prolific on the ground throughout the season. How does Arizona match up defensively against the rush?
Probably not good. Losing Jacob Manu, who's their best, tackler. It's not gonna be good. I don't see any way right now with the inexperience on the Arizona defense that they find a way to slow down UCF. I really have a hard time seeing that. You'll get an occasional stop here or there, but this should be the get-right game for the Knights, in my opinion. And I am as positive normally an Arizona football fan as you can get. But I have sat through 3 of the last 4 weeks in person watching teams that just haven't been very good. They lost to a Texas Tech team who I thought was okay, and then they've lost 2 in a row. Probably not all that great. I think Colorado, is a good team, but not nearly as good as they think they are. And then West Virginia was beat up and as injured as Arizona was, and still went in with a backup quarterback and beat him. It's inexcusable. However, I'm not going to sit here and say, let's fire everybody. Maybe the offensive staff with Babers and all those guys, they could probably use a little refresh there. But it's tough. I don't see us stopping RJ Harvey on Saturday.
You're lulling UCF fans into a false sense of security.
I mean, you guys have lost 5 in a row, but this is a good get-right game. Regardless, I thought Arizona would go 9-3 to start at the beginning of this year. And one of the 3 losses I had was this game. I just didn't see it. I did not see Arizona winning this game at all at any point throughout the year. The space game, what do you have, like a 34-5 record or something like that in space game? I mean,
longer than they've been playing football.
Yeah. I mean, we're not winning that. Listen, I was born in St. Petersburg. Florida and Arizona are the only 2 states I've ever lived in. So I respect all you guys. You have a great football program. And I'll tell it like it is. If I thought Arizona was going to come out and win the game on Saturday, I'd say, yeah, you guys are in trouble. I would be very surprised if Arizona won this game. Very.
Eric, full transparency, at the Big 12 Media Days, I saw head coach Brett Brennan on the field, and I said, look, it's Willie Fritz, because I didn't know who he was. How has he sort of won over the Arizona fan base? I know, obviously, Jed Fish had a great year, but moves on. How has Brett fitted with the Arizona fan base?
Yeah, well, whatever he's won over there, Adam, he's lost now. Because, I mean, seriously, the vitriol on X and message boards is ridiculous at this point. The goodwill of being able to retain McMillan, Fafita, Manu, and some other key players on last year's team. Takario Davis is a phenomenal player, probably a first-round talent cornerback for Arizona. He's still playing on defense, banged up with a groin injury, so maybe he's not 100%. Jonas Avenea is probably a first-round. I've seen him in mock drafts in the first-round offensive lineman for the Wildcats, plus McMillan. So you probably have 3 first-rounders or 3 top half of the second-rounders and higher on this roster, and you're 3-5. And so the fan base is out on Brent Brennan. He's a great guy. I like him. We've had him on the show twice. I've met him in person separately. I like the guy. I am going to give him another shot. But right now, after that October, not real happy.
You mentioned, obviously, you have a friend coming to Orlando. Is any traveling fans coming to Orlando? Do you expect a big Wildcat contingent in Orlando on Saturday?
I would be surprised. I mean, especially right now, unless you had a pre-planned trip come. I mean, you're not going to want to go watch this team, travel to pay money to go watch this team. The only thing I heard from my buddy is that there is an Arizona rally of sorts, 3+ miles from the stadium. So he's trying to figure out how, and I don't know where it's at or anything like that. He just said he's got to figure out the logistics of that. I don't know if he's renting a car with his family or not. Regardless, I mean, it's a game I would love to come to sometime and see what it's all about down there. But I'm really glad that I didn't make the trip for this year, considering the way it's played out.
But basketball, Eric, basketball. It's around the corner, right? In Arizona. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that is probably going to get to the Sweet 16 and then disappoint us again. I mean, Arizona, for as good of a program as they are, and they have been to 6 Elite Eights in the last 25 years or 24 years, something like that. They haven't been back to a Final Four since 2000 or 2001 when they were in the national championship game against Duke. And it's shocking to think that, because this is still, I don't know if I want to call Arizona blue blood, but they're close. I mean, it's a good team they have coming back this year. And they're ranked, I think, preseason number 10. But you guys know the Big 12 is going to be impossible. And I think that the fans are going to be in for a surprise when Arizona loses 7-8 games or more. And it doesn't mean they still can't get a top 3 or 4 seed, because the RPI is going to be phenomenal with this great conference in basketball. But I don't think that the fan base is ready for what is about to happen in the Big 12.
7-8 games total, or 7-8 games in January? Because see, there's different outlooks for these programs. UCF
total, no, total. I think this is a good Arizona team. I mean, we have Duke November 22nd at McHale Center. They're at Wisconsin the week before that. Then they're in the Bahamas the week after Duke for 3 games, potentially against Gonzaga, who's a pretty highly rated team. And then you have to go to the Big 12 schedule, which is extremely difficult, as you guys know. So I'm going to say Arizona loses 8 or 9 games in the regular season, but maybe they'll be more battle tested. I mean, this is a team that walked through the Pac-12 the last few years, and you get to the tournament, and then you lose to Princeton in the first round, and you lose to Clemson in the Sweet 16. And the year before that, they probably should have lost to TCU in the round of 32 before Ben Mathurin bailed them out. And then they ended up losing in the Sweet 16 to Houston. So I hope this team is more battle tested. I hope that this difficult schedule works for them. But this is a top 10 caliber team as I see it right now.
You mentioned you're in the gambling space. How does that industry continue to change?
It's tough. I mean, I've worked previously. I've worked for one of the sports books out here in Arizona, and now I work for a subsidiary of CBS Sports called Sportsline.com. We're just trying to try to get people in it and change the frequency of behavior, of gambling behavior. I mean, I like to do it. I'm not advocating that anybody go out and spend all your money. If you can do it recreationally, have a good time with it, and not lose your butt on it, good for you. It's fun. It adds incentive when watching a game. When you're watching UCF and Arizona and two teams that stink right now on Saturday, yeah, it's nice to have a couple bucks on the line. Bet the over.
Bet the mortgage.
Bet
the mortgage.
Bet the over line. Come on, Trace. Bet the over. And, I have it as 34-23 UCF. So I think the over under is right around, was it like 55.5 or something like that? I have to double check it again. But I'd probably bet the over. I might be saying that's too low.
Eric Cohen, co-host Wildcat Country, a breath of fresh air here on Sons of UCF Live. We thank you for being with us.
Guys, always enjoyed it. Anytime, I would love to come back on.
All right, Eric. We'll have you back. Thank you, Eric. I think we need to get a little edgier, Adam. I think we're too reserved on the show. By the way, what's the wager on Gus Malzahn saying, well, they showed us something we hadn't seen before after Eric completely
I need Eric
team.
back with the odds. Here's the thing. Eric has great points. It sounds like he's down in Arizona. That means they're going to win by 20. That's the only problem I see with this. Now they're going to win by 20, and I'm going to be even more mad than I was going to the game.
But look good, play good, right? Space game, space uniform. Let's check in with Christian Simmons on loan from the Pegasus podcast.
Well, we've reached the point in the season where we know that UCF is pretty bad and probably going to go ahead and lose again. But what's fun about this weekend is that they are going to look so good while losing. This is the annual space game, of course, as you have to know if you're listening. UCF's going with the moon-themed uniforms this year. It's all about NASA's return to the moon and UCF's role in that. My first question when these uniforms got dropped, to be honest, because in the photo shoot is a player in this uniform standing on what looks like the surface of the moon. My first question was, where did UCF find the surface of the moon around campus? And that's how we learned all about Exolith Lab, which is the lab that actually simulates the surface of the moon so that different companies and NASA and all that can sort of, try out different things. And this uniform has been inspired by that in some ways. A couple things to call out on it. The coolest feature, obviously, is the moon dust gradient going up the jersey. It literally looks like the player just landed in moon dust and it got thrown across the jersey. That's so cool. Probably the coolest just straight up feature we've seen in the space uniform since the moon helmet in 2019. So that's awesome. We've got the gray pants. One thing I want to call it from the pants is the Artemis booster rockets up the sides is such a cool touch. And then the helmet is just great too. Black helmet. I'm loving the UCF stack decal on this. It's the white stack decal with some Canaveral blue in there and some moon dust flecks in it. This is a fun one. This is a really, really fun one. And I never, ever rank the uniforms until I've seen them on the field, but this is looking like it's going to be my favorite since 2021, which was the Space Shuttle uniform. This is a really cool look. And while UCF is, maybe not in the best place competitively right now, they are looking very good, and that's exciting.
I like Robert's comment, Christian Simmons, an adopted son. We keep bringing people in.
I can't keep track anymore, Trace. Every now and again, somebody sends me a video I have to upload. I don't even know who these people are anymore.
Well, we've got interns coming in too.
I know.
You better create a sheet. Hey, we had that giveaway. You found a winner for that space game jersey.
Todd Bryant was the big winner. He guessed the number of points correctly. I think it was 61 was the correct answer, and he had UCF winning as well. So Todd Bryant, the big winner of a jersey. I think he's going to Alumni Hall on Saturday before the game to pick up his jersey. You should also go there, everybody. Alumni Hall, they're opening early before the space game. They have a ton of space merchandise. A big thanks to them for giving us a jersey. And hopefully Todd wears it with pride and takes a picture and tags us in it. And then after the game, when we lose, he can cry with it too.
Earlier, we heard from Mark Giacone, a really good soundbite about Coach Lounsbury, a Hall of Fame inductee. The ceremony Friday night at the Celeste Hotel on campus, along with Chris Duffy from UCF Baseball being inducted. Shaquem Griffin, he's going to give you a good speech. He is a motivational speaker. Ashley Holder, women's golf. Anne-Marie Blaney, track and field and cross country. And a guy you interviewed on Sons of UCF, Kirk Spearraw, who we hadn't heard from in many years around UCF. And it's good to see Coach back in the fold.
Yeah, I retweeted that. It's still on our YouTube channel. Go search for that. The interview with Coach Spearraw. About an hour, I think. Mike and I talked to him about a bunch of different topics, and interesting class, Trace. I mean, again, Shaquem's the headliner, of course, but I think a guy like Kirk Spearraw, who had such an integral part of the UCF basketball program. Again, you listen to Mark Giacone talk about the football program coming up to a really interesting class. And again, hats off to our good friend Carlos McCanns, who painstakingly goes over the every process of this, from nomination to winner to event, and literally on Sunday he'll start the 2025 campaign for the Hall of Fame, which, if I have anything to do with it, will include our friend Alex Haynes. That is my new mission in life. Alex Haynes to the UCF Hall of Fame starting November 3rd. You're going to hear about it.
It's a campaign.
You're
launching a campaign.
A lot of campaigns going on right now, Trace. I might as well get in there.
Maybe Kirk Spearraw has a word or two for Coach Dawkins following the night's 114-76. Do some math there. That would be 38-point loss. Halftime, it was just 54-43 Bulldogs. Coach Dawkins prides himself on the Knights playing defense. They're going to have to step that up in a big way as they open the season on Monday at 7 o'clock in the arena, and Texas A&M comes to town. For people asking, still no word on Jalen Sellers. Coach Dawkins commented on that following the exhibition game against Florida Gulf Coast. Then they had the game this week at Georgia. We've asked for media availability. None has been scheduled. The next time perhaps that we'll hear from Coach Dawkins is following the Texas A&M game. So I don't know, not a lot of coverage going into this one. UCF not making that available to us. We don't know. And Dior Johnson left that game. We're not sure what his status is either going into Monday's opener.
Yeah, obviously those are two key players that you're going to want on the court, Trace. I mean, Jalen Sellers, we know what he brings to the table. Dior Johnson looked like he had a really good game, at least in the lead up to the FGCU exhibition. So it feels like this is a broken record. I said this on Around the Kingdom or Around the Kingdom Overtime, whatever show we're on these days. UCF snake bitten with these injuries before the season starts. It's happened year over year. Somebody goes down and is out for a while. If it's not Taco Fall, Aubrey Dawkins, Darius Johnson, I think had a calf a couple years back. I mean, this just happens repeatedly for UCF. Hopefully, it's nothing serious and these guys come back. But obviously, best wishes to them and hopefully whatever their ailments are, they get that figured out. But just another snake bitten year for UCF with injuries before we even throw the basketball in the air.
All right. Hey, it's joke time again. Joke time. Why don't skeletons like Halloween candy, Adam?
They don't have any teeth.
They don't have the stomach for it.
I got nothing else for you. Do you want to go around the kingdom? We're doing that now?
Yeah, that's where we are.
Muhammad Mustafa Champ, let's go around the kingdom.
He played soccer for a long time.
I still can't get over that photo of you and him standing next to each other. I don't even think you come up to his waist. Like that's how tall that human being is. And it's incredible to think about that. 7
feet plus.
Yes.
Baseball, Big 12 announces the schedule of opponents. UCF will host Baylor, Houston, Kansas, TCU, West Virginia. Their road series include BYU, Cincinnati, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech. That'll get underway in a couple of months. Women's basketball, we talked about the men. Women open next week, Tuesday against Iona, and then they also host Marquette on Thursday. Men's soccer, they dropped 2-0 at Georgia Southern. Wednesday, I'm not sure. Friday. I don't even know what day we're on now that we're on later.
It's
Friday.
Still Thursday. No, it's still the same day.
Yeah. Friday, they host South Carolina. That at 7 o'clock, the season finale at home. On the road at Coastal Carolina. They're going to need to win something here down the stretch, and they got that Sun Belt tournament coming up. Women's soccer season ends with a draw. They do not make that Big 12 tournament. So I don't know about that spoiler from Jeff Allen, but it will not include UCF volleyball.
Cliffhanger.
Straight loss. They lost 3-0 to Cincinnati. They are now 1-8 in the Big 12, taking their lumps in season 2 in the Big 12. They are, just a short road trip to Lubbock, Texas at Texas Tech on Saturday at 2:00. They better leave now. We had Eric Lopez and I mixing things up. By the way, I like the comment that I saw on the YouTube about Eric always has to have some sort of TV game show on during that. But I'm sure you got a clip that may not feature some background noise.
I actually don't know that that's true.
I don't think there's much of a risk in starting him. Get it, Trace?
You've been waiting all day for that.
I have. Listen, what else you got to do? To me, you're playing for 2025. I think you've been playing for 2025 last year, but I think one of the main goals the rest of the way, Trace, is who is your starting quarterback in 2025?
Who's going to start Saturday against Arizona?
It's a great question. Looking ahead, Elo, who is your quarterback in 48 hours? That we still do not know.
A lot of content on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. That subscriber number keeps going up. You'll find Around the Kingdom. You'll find the Pegasus podcast, the instant reaction shows. Hey, Clay and Andrew wearing Halloween costumes. We missed an opportunity here to come out with costumes. They have a new Up All Night. It is now time for the man. Before we roll this open, edit? No?
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Oh.
There was an edit, Trace.
Whoa.
There was an edit. There is. Here's the thing.
Whoa.
I thought long and hard about this. I feel like ever since I started messing with the DNA of the mailbag, the losing streak has gotten worse and worse.
I like your superstition.
As I've added more clips, we've added more losses. And so I'm gonna reset the button here. I'm gonna hit the reset button. I'm gonna try again. Everyone's got to do their part. I'm doing my part. Maybe I've overdone it on the mailbag. Maybe there's too much there. We need to simplify this. And so we're back to the OG mailbag. We can start winning games again. Some hell yeahs are coming back. I don't know that I want to see a shirtless Brian Peterson again, though. I'm going to put that out there right now. But maybe the hell yeahs are back. Maybe the ponies. You never know. But let's get a win first. I'm doing my part here.
And if UCF does not win, do we just randomly fire Clay Pasco just out of the blue?
You still here?
At UCF Knights win. Got a jersey in the offseason. Went 3-1 while I wore it. I've worn a different T-shirt every week since, and we're winless. Do I try a different T-shirt this week, or do I go back to the jersey? We're 3-1. You go back to the jersey.
I'm confused by this question because you were 3-1 and you switched to a T-shirt and then another and then another, then another,
and then they've been losing.
It sounds like you had a mojo with the jersey. I guess it's the one loss that scared you off. But let's go back to the jersey. Let's get that back in the rotation. It seems like that's 3 is better than 1 at this point. So let's get the jersey back there.
Tough question from Golden Knight _2. Who are you more disappointed in? Gus for being a double agent, secretly destroying the program that got him fired from Auburn, or Terry for giving him the opportunity to do it? See, I wonder what we didn't talk much about this, but what role did Mr. Mahajer have in the shakeup of coaches? I wonder, will we get the full story on that? All I know is that Ted Roof went to the podium on Sunday night at 6. Now, it doesn't strike me that anybody would be cruel and put him out there, before you're letting him go. So what? Something happened there.
I mean, I would say this. Terry has to have a wider lens of the entire athletic program. Donations, sponsorships, season tickets, everything
Not
in
easy.
between. And obviously, I think you can recognize where a less than favorable football result leads to different changes there. So I don't know who to blame per se. I mean, I guess if you want to blame somebody, right? Terry hired Gus, so I guess that's the winner. But I think there's certainly a bunch to go around there. And my suspicion is that there will be a really rigorous postmortem after the season, and I'm sure we'll all figure out where it is from there. But I think Terry has more to worry about in this scenario than Gus does.
At Tan the Man _ how many losses gets Gus fired at the end of the year? I wonder if he just decides that enough is enough.
It's a great question. I mean, listen, if UCF loses every game here on out, the remaining 4, I think that certainly probably puts this in perspective. But it does make you wonder. You're at the presser every week, Trace, and I'm only watching on ESPN Plus and on the clips you send me. Gus's demeanor, his body language, his energy seems to have changed week over week, and maybe that comes with a losing streak and the pressure of that. But you wonder if this is fun for him anymore, right? We've seen guys like Nick Saban walk away because it's not. We've seen Tony Bennett, a relatively younger coach, leave college basketball because of everything that's there. Gus talks about NAL and the portal all the time. One of his favorite phrases, he's got 10 of them, but one of them is, in this day in college football, this age of college football, this era of college football. Part of me just wonders if at some point in time he says, hey, I came into this to coach football, and this has changed from that. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what happens there, but I think the choices that both sides have to make at the end of the season will be interesting to see.
You can tell themes on questions at Bogey 0711. This is 2 or 3 cards before the horse. But if Gus decided to retire this year, who would be the top new head coaching choices? At Henchman 213, is Jimbo Fisher a suitable replacement? He just wants to start insane speculation. I know you like to peddle in the reckless speculation. How about Tulane's head coach?
I wonder where you got
Thursday Night
this.
Football.
Gee, where'd you get that? Yes, listen, I do not want to retread. So the Jimbo Fishers and the Dan Mullins can sit this one out as far as I'm concerned. I'd consider Ed Orgeron, though, because I think you and Ed Orgeron would have fun in the presser. Because I don't think you could hear him, and I don't think he could hear you, and that would be fun. Go Tigers. That would be fun for me.
We wouldn't know what he said.
Have to edit. No, that'd be fantastic.
It'd bring back the Hypel translator. Orgeron.
So I don't want to retread. I want somebody that that maybe is younger, hungrier, and ready to go. John Summerall, as you mentioned, is a really good coach. A lot of good offensive coaches out there too. I wouldn't be upset. John Summerall is more of a defensive guy, Tulane. I wouldn't be upset if we went defense. You hire a good offensive coordinator, you get a good system in place. Maybe you got something there too. So I think there's a lot of young coaches out there, but I don't want the retreads. Don't give me Dan Mullen. Don't give me Jimbo Fisher. Don't give me Rich Rodriguez. Like I'm not.
Dean Hope Babers may be looking for a job soon.
Listen
to our guest.
Are we gonna get Eric to write him a reference? Because it didn't seem like we're going to.
At UCF Guy 23, he's talking about people wanted George O'Leary fired. They want Heupel fired. They want everybody fired. You heard it from Eric. They want Brett Brennan fired. When is it reasonable to give a guy a chance to succeed and have some patience? I would just say this, though. I think you talked about Gus's demeanor. I think he set that reset button, right? He had the couple of years in the AAC, moving to the Big 12. I sense in this guy that he's just surprised it has not gone as he projected. And I think they are trying to do things and it's not working. And I think that he's dejected about that because obviously he has a healthy ego. He thinks his schemes and his play calling all work. They thought KJ Jefferson would be an answer, and it's not working. And he's trying things, and none of those things are working either.
I think the industry standard on this, and I'm not just saying this because of the timing on it, is giving a coach 4 years, time to cycle through last coach's players, get his or her players into the system, begin the process of building that foundation, getting that set up, right? So I think the 4-year mark is the mark, I think, where you really stop and evaluate where the program has turned. We can talk wins and losses, and I get those aren't good, obviously, Trace. I think we all understand that. As Gus would say, I think we all see that. Where I'm more shocked is the lack of development of players. Like we have so many young guys who come here or we're all booming on the internet and they're gone in 6 months. They're gone in a year. I think it's development of players for me. That's been the most eye-opening thing. And obviously you have to rely on the portal in some cases. Have we gone too heavy in the portal at the expense of younger guys? Are we discarding younger guys without giving them a chance? Are we not building that foundation? I think that's the more shocking. That you talk about the wins and losses, the play calls, and the not going for it on 4th and 1 from the 50. All that stuff is all valid. I get it. It's the development for players. I think for me, that's really more eye-opening.
And Jay Hadaway asking us to speculate wildly about the coaches Gus leans on and those he may blame for the lack of success. I think he leans on Herb Hand. Would be a guy I think he's fond of.
Yeah, I think I think he leans on the guys that he knows really well, right? And so I think he leans on the guys he knows, the guys he don't knows. This Eric Edwards has, by the way, been all over our Eric is very disappointed. Very
Adam
upset
does the transition
with
from
us.
G5 to P4 get considered at all?
Sure.
Well, yes, but now there's a regression in season 2 on a season in which You thought there would be
Yeah.
8-9 wins, and the losses. I know Coach Lounsbury likes to be positive. I didn't consider the Colorado game a close game. He didn't say that, but he said he thought a couple of them were close. I mean, Iowa State could have maybe looked at that. BYU, I think UCF was soundly beaten by. Gator game was not really close. So I think it's the way in which they're losing these games too. And through 4 quarterbacks, it's hard to be positive. It's hard to feel like things are trending in an upward direction. You're losing some recruits. You got guys declaring the red shirt. What's the positive to take away from? But again, they went 3 out of 4, and maybe we're talking a little bit different going into the offseason as they prepare for a Gasparilla or Boca Bowl.
Yeah, look, Eric is all over our comments on videos and whatnot, and I get that he's very much clearly pro Gus, and this is not a referendum on Gus and referendum on him as a coach. It's just not working right now, and that doesn't mean it can't get better. But to blindly say, well, TCU and Utah regress in year 2, so it's okay for UCF, I just don't buy that. I don't buy that we have to do just because that happened there. I think he told me I had to go for Colorado now at some point in time, which I'm not going to do because UCF's my alma mater. But I don't understand why we can't expect more from our coaches, why we can't expect more. And just because another program maybe did something doesn't mean we can't strive to do better. And if it's not better, doesn't mean we can't be frustrated with that. And I don't understand why that's such a shocker for people.
At Broward UCF, what happened to Coach Hinshaw? He called plays last year and they're not turned into him. I think it is interesting to go to Coach Harris, who's never called plays. What is that adjustment like? Perhaps there's a Sunday night media availability that will remain on schedule, in which that question could be asked, what it was like to call plays. And we get a lot of questions now. Yeah.
I have a secret for you.
Yes.
I think it's because Tim Harris calls the same plays Gus calls, and Hinshaw wants to throw the football.
Don't let anybody hear you.
Don't tell anybody.
We're a little looser late at night, aren't we? Here, I'll underscore.
Well, listen, I think to expect Tim Harris is a disciple. He was the running back coach at UCF. He's now coaching wide receivers. Figure that out. But I suspect that you're going to see a lot of the similar run game, and not that it's wrong, but I think you're going to see more of the run game, more of that balance. I think Hinshaw was more of a spread style offense and pro style, throw the ball down the field. I think when Hinshaw was coordinator for 7-8 minutes, we talked a lot about taking shots on the field. We haven't heard that in a long time. I think you're going to see more of the running game.
And L_Stubby, will we score more touchdowns now that Ted Roof is gone? They were on the field 20 minutes. What more do you want from the offense? The defense has got to go. Mary Ashbaugh.
Ted's defense scored almost as many touchdowns as the offense did in a couple of games, just to be fair.
Well, it really deserved the 2 pick sixes at Iowa State, if not for the drop at the 1. And then we got these cluster of Mary Ashbaugh. How do you feel about the Roof? Ted Roof being fired, good move. Riley Carey, what's your opinion on the Ted Roof firing? Nightmarish, bigger immediate positive impact, replacing Roof with Williams or Tim Harris taking over the play calling? What was that you said earlier? What was that about the play calling?
I think Tim Harris is going to run the football.
I just find the circumstance and timing surprising. I think it is a bit of an acknowledgement on Gus's part when you give a guy 8 games that maybe that was not the best hire for the position. And I don't know why, he made the move with Addison Williams, giving him the promotion, pulling him back. And now he says he's grown a lot as a coach. Again, it's 8 games. I mean, it's 8 to 10 weeks. I don't know how much growing. At UCF Fan 642 is our new OC installing his own playbook. You can't install a new playbook.
Tim Harris is going to run the football.
Well, the new DC teach the entire defense to be as useless as he taught our DBs. Ooh, a little anti-Addison. Maybe they'll play up a little bit and tackle a little bit better for Addison Williams. At Martian,
I don't know.
Marvin.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer this question. Obviously, let me try to be cagey here. When you and I spoke to Addison at Las Vegas, and he made some references to some things last year that he wanted to do over, things he wanted back, and changes.
Now he gets that chance.
And so, while I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect, I think he was very aware of the defense last year, where the shortcomings were, and some things that were there that maybe didn't work as well as he wanted to. So I'm curious to see. Again, he's got 4 games to figure it out, but I would just say I don't know that everything was what we thought it was in the 2023 season. I'm curious what Addison's learned for 2024.
And Martian_Marvin, does the college game not know what a play action pass is?
That's a great question. It's such a Trace, are you an NFL guy? Do you watch a lot of NFL?
Not as I will when the UCF season ends. There's usually some flying back from Lubbock and such.
You got
and
some time,
to,
yeah. It's coming soon. It's so funny to me. Well, NFL's on right now over my
I've got Tulane on. I'm looking at UCF's
why would you
future
watch
coach.
Tulane?
I'm scouting UCF's future head coach.
Wow. Breaking news, everybody. No, the refined play in the NFL versus, like, to your point, there's a lot of motion, a lot of shifts. I understand they're college kids, but it is interesting to watch kind of how that works. And I don't think, has UCF done a play action pass this year? Andy's on here. He can maybe keep me honest.
Hey, where's the RJ Harvey pass play? Where's been the razzle dazzle from Gus? I know
Tim Harris. No, I don't.
It's all coming.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
At the CMAS 14, rank the different Ted Roof tenures at UCF. I favor the first one, do no harm.
Yes.
I am Rob.
Yes.
6719. I gather this is directed at me. Are you disappointed you'll never be able to ask Ted Roof another question in a presser? I am not. I
am so mad that Gus Malzahn robbed us of that interaction. I feel like you and Ted Roof would be like a great buddy cop movie at some point. Like I'm just upset that we were robbed of that.
You owe it to yourself to go back and listen to some of the sound bites from Sunday. And take full responsibility, and darn well you're going to pay for it with your job about 12 hours later, buddy. At Jim _Acosta, will Gus be willing now to continue wearing the coach CEO hat and hire top-notch young offensive and defensive coordinators, evolving with a game that seems to have left him behind? This is where I think Gus could redeem himself with a fan base if he gets some mojo there and does that. Good job he does in representing the program in the public and on the recruiting trail, and so I think there's a possibility there.
You look at his history, Trace. Has he ever done that? From Kenny Dillingham to Rhett Lashley to Chad Morris.
This is where Terry Modger has to say you're going.
Chip Lindsey, outside of G.J. Kinney, who seems to be a little bit outside of that Gus tree.
He left.
We stayed for a year. Has he ever shown to do that? I think that's the one thing that I don't know about.
At Scott 88513, I'm setting you up here. This needs to be a new drop. Do you think Gus giving up play calling helps the offense, Adam?
It can't hurt, but it's the same plays. It actually hurts my voice more than I thought.
You're doing your best at Ogeron.
Thank you. Oh, go Tigers.
Rejoice Knights. How you feel about Williams being brought back as defensive coordinator? Though there was never a press release issued by UCF about this, we don't know that the title has changed from co-defensive coordinator.
I asked you this question the other day. Like, is he the interim? Is he just the defensive coordinator? Is the code now done? I don't really know, but gosh almighty, I hope he can drop a good defense on Saturday.
At Harlan 10530, how do we keep our good players from going to the portal? How do we keep our commits from recommitting? Yeah. I don't know. If you don't win some games, it's going to be a challenging.
Yeah, it's going to be
couple of weeks.
Really challenging. Yeah.
I know nobody wants to go to the Boca Bowl, but going to a Boca Bowl would mean they've won 3 or 4 games down the stretch. And if you want to keep some recruits and look better, maybe those things need to happen. I know Eric Lopez disagrees with that. Thinks you just play for next season. At Black Gold _Ed, how many portal transfers will there be from Eric DeSalvo's team? Better not be any, though. They did just lose a video guy. Went to Auburn.
I saw that. Yeah. Talented people on that team. And then college athletics, as you know, Trace, is relatively fluid, and a lot of folks move around a lot.
Lonely Bee UCF. Why do we allow Billy Bass to become a thing? Did we fail as a society? Why does Adam have one? Would you care to comment?
What the hell's Billy Bass?
I thought you knew what it meant.
I have no idea what the hell Billy Bass. Do I have it? What the hell's? I don't.
Do you have a fish on your wall? Do you have a talking fish?
Dude, I have been fishing like twice in my life, and that's about it. I have zero patience for fishing.
Dolly's in the chat. He may need to educate us if we're missing.
Mario's in the chat. It's the singing.
Mario, what did you mean?
I don't have a singing.
Well, yeah, the singing fishing.
I don't.
You have one?
No, not even close.
If you'll scroll up, there was a question from young Andrew Cherico, who wore a Halloween mask on the show. A late question. He's borrowing from Robert 2 letters, 2 words with a late question.
We have decorum here, Andrew.
RJ even fighting for his spot at practice. Like, is he banned from starting again? Which just bring back Eric Lopez saying that maybe they pulled him out too soon. Maybe they would have won the game against Cincinnati if KJ had been playing. It is interesting. What is he now? Is he now 4th?
He's going to have to be.
Yeah, Dylan Risk has moved up.
Riley Trujillo? KJ Jefferson. What do you do? I don't know.
That's a lot of money to not be doing a whole lot. Clay underscore
found.
Pasco for Halloween he's going as one of the chip. He's also going with 3 different costumes to 3 different parties as Clay. He's going for the Albin and the Chipmunks. Which chipmunk do you think he's going to be? You got 3 choices there. Who are you going with? Is Clay in the chat? Will he?
Simon. No, I think he's otherwise engaged. Give me Theodore. I have no idea why. We also found Mark Daniels' burner account, by the way, in case anyone was interested in that. Give me Theodore. Give me Theodore.
All right, it's that time again to find out what is in the box.
I'm glad you asked.
Now with new questions that are going to make me
brand
squirm.
new questions. No, I think you're going to like these. Outsource questions, promo code TEN1215 is going to get you 50% off your first order, Trace. Let me rummage here. I love a good rummage. Here we go here. All right. This is interesting. Okay. Oh, yeah.
I need to invest in one of these, and we'll flip the script on this for several
I
weeks.
don't.
You say, Trace, what's in the box? And then I'll pull out a question. And
who's stopping you? If a food item expires on November 1st, do you use it until November 2nd, or do you throw it out on November 1st?
There's a smell test, a look test. I'm not locked into, and the expiration dates on canned goods and non-perishables is really just a sell-by date, and they're trying to sell product. I mean, things don't just expire. Now, a milk or something like that, but yeah, no, not particularly.
So you don't abide by the dates?
Yeah, no. I mean,
I think Dolly's right. Milk is a no-go.
For the most part, but
the milk date is a strict like.
No. If you get organic milk, no, that can live on longer.
Past the date?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'm a date guy.
You're going in and you're looking in your pantry.
I don't.
That's gone.
This is a true story.
Those ramen noodles.
This is why this question was inspired by this. So this is a shameful admission. I think I'm only one of a handful of people in the world who do this. I like cottage cheese. Good protein source.
No.
Good protein source. Nice little move. And I went to the fridge this morning, and I had a November 2nd cottage cheese.
Okay.
And I had a November 11th cottage cheese in there. November 2 in the trash can, friends.
Why? You have 2 more days.
It didn't look good. It didn't feel good.
I'll tell you what, cottage cheese in its normal state tastes like it's expired. That's fuzzy.
It didn't feel good. Wow. Do you eat blue cheese?
I do like blue cheese.
I hate blue cheese. I want to eat blue cheese. Isn't that literally fungus?
I don't know. Wedge salad was pretty good today.
It smells like feet. I don't Isn't it literally like a fungus? Mario, don't do that to me, Mario. You know it's good. A lot of protein, Mario. Try it. You're a workout.
No, that's true. It's a lot of protein. I know that, but no. All right. Hey, one more joke before we go.
We have to. Is it required?
Why did the Scarecrow comedian get booed?
I don't even.
Because all of his jokes were corny.
Again, blue cheese is not delicious, Dolly. I don't even understand.
On blue cheese. All right. So, what'd you think of this 9 o'clock time slot? Should we stay with this?
I don't know about all that, but we had one. Where's the comment now? Somebody said that Sons After Dark is ruthless, which I kind of like that.
I think we need to add Eric every week just to take pot shots.
You all thought we were negative. Like the comments on my YouTube about we're negative. Like, ladies and gentlemen, check out the whatever Eric's show is called, the Arizona Wildcat Country podcast, because that's got to be a hoot. Woo.
I don't think we're negative. I think we're realistic. I mean, I just don't know how much positivity you can spin in a 5-game losing streak.
Listen,
that entered the red shirt, the portal, and the recruits.
Talk to my friend Eric Edwards then, because he wants more positivity.
Eric, it is a lonely club being a Gus Malzahn defender right now. He needs to get you a victory. I'm waiting for Gus though to say, they showed us something we'd never seen before. That big wide receiver caught 11 balls. He caught 11 last week too. Blue cheese is superior over ranch in all aspects, especially wings. Weighs in Andrew Cherrick.
Is that true? So you don't eat wings. Here we go. We're back to Trey. You don't eat wings, right? Because you have to use your hands.
I do not eat wings. No, don't.
Never?
Don't eat wings.
What if you had gloves on? If you had gloves?
No. And this is a whole discussion with Robert. He wants. I don't eat ribs either. That's just a big mess. And he wants to give me some sort of special gloves. I'm not wearing gloves to eat food. Just not. It's
Okay.
not.
That's too far.
It's not matter enough to me to be a caveman and rip meat off a bone of anything. I don't need to. I'm good.
All right, we're gonna
There's
do
other ways
mailbag
to eat
clip.
chicken.
Let's get a win. I got a new mailbag clip. I'm gonna need UCF to win just so I can use that.
I say virtually nothing memorable for 59 minutes of this show, or whatever time it is now. We've gone over.
Dolly's my governor.
Because-
When Dolly's giving me the LMAO, I know we've done something. Although Mario on your side. Oops, sorry.
It's just too much work. Why not just have a regular piece of chicken? You can season it however you want.
Great question by the much maligned Eric Edwards. Do you eat boneless wings?
Yeah, well, that I can eat with a fork and a knife. I don't have to eat them with my hands. So,
Do you consider boneless wings to be wings?
they're just little pieces of chicken.
Very good. Don't tell anybody. It's not actually a wing.
By the way, I like the new segment that we have on the show where you whisper it to them.
I'll see what I can do.
All right. I want to thank Coach Lounsbury for being with us, and Eric from Wildcat Country, contributions from Jeff Allen and Christian Simmons, and all of you watching. It's Space Game Week. We've got a Hall of Fame class going in Friday night. A lot to be excited about this weekend, and football team could help things out with a win. So for Adam Eaton, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights.
Charge on.
Kobe Hudson, wide receiver. Thank you for watching Sons of UCF.
Oh, first play. Oh, I hate to
We
see
need
it.
Kobe this weekend.
But Jacoby came up. Jacoby stepped up, so that was good.
We need somebody. Bye, Eric Edwards.